Hey FlossTube, this is Brian. Welcome back. This is my 68th FlossTube video, and I plan on sharing with you what I have been working this week. First of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. And if you are coming back, thank you so much for coming back and watching my videos. It's been a great week, and I'm excited to share with you what I have been working on. First of all, I have a couple of questions and comments that I would like to respond to from my last video. The first one is from SAJDDJ95, who asked, what does a rotation mean, and asked for some details about my rotation. So when I talk about my rotation is what I use to make sure that I work on all of my projects, all of my whips that I'm working on. So basically what I do is I have a list of all of my whips, and I start at the top of the list, and I work on the first project on the list for a week, and then the next week I work on the second project on the list all the way down. I like to do that for a couple of reasons. I've mentioned before that I find that if I have to decide what project I'm going to stitch, that I quickly lose interest, and I don't like having to decide. So having a list and working through the list makes it so that I don't have to decide what I'm going to do. And also I like working on everything. I don't like the idea of having a project that gets sidelined for a while because because I'm not working on it. I like to systematically work through all of my projects. And so that's the reason why I do that. Right now my projects are in order from oldest to youngest. They didn't start out that way, but as projects that I have been working on have been completed and fall off the list, that's just kind of the way things are working on. I guess I could go back through and rework the order and kind of start over again, but I'm not ready to do that. And so that's what my rotation is. Lisa C asked me if I was stitching 2/2 on a mid-Amish life, and of course you're going to see a mid-Amish life in a few minutes. But I am not. I am stitching with 3 strands of floss over 2 fabric threads. The reason why I'm stitching with 3 is that I am working on 25 count even weave, and I was worried that if I used only 2 fabric threads, that if I only used 2 strands of floss, that I wouldn't get the coverage that I wanted with this piece. And I will admit, stitching with 3 strands is kind of irritating, and I think in the future, I don't think I have anything else that I'm considering doing that with, but after this experience, I'm not really interested in stitching with 3 fabric threads again. It's kind of a pain. Yeah, anyway. And then Kevin asked me if I organize my charts and binders. Yes, I do. And you might have noticed when I show my charts, sometimes they're in a sheet protector. I have binders in my closet. Binders full of patterns, and they're all in sheet protectors to keep them nice. That is about the best way that I can think of to store a lot of patterns in a relatively small area, and to keep them organized so that I know kind of where to go to find things. So that's what I do, is I use binders and sheet protectors. I also In retrospect, this may have been a mistake, but I had a whole bunch of old magazines that I basically took the patterns out that I wanted to keep and put them in sheet protectors as well. And so those are also in binders. And I think you've seen that as well. Okay, so that's all of my questions that I had. Thank you so much, and as always, I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have for me. Just a couple of updates. Thank you to everybody. It's been like a month or so that I talked about Mir Cresticom, and I want to thank everybody who has used the coupon code to order stuff. From what I understand, there are quite a few of you have. If you haven't taken advantage of that, remember that you can use the blitstitch code on their Etsy website to get 10% off your order until the end of the year. So also, last week I kind of mentioned that I'm going to be starting Red House Sampler. I had several people express interest in stitching this with me. And so I am going to, as I mentioned, this is even more firm now. I'm going to be starting this at the beginning of the year. This is going to be my start for the new year. Just a little bit more details. This is Red House Sampler by the Sampler Company. The designer for the Sampler Company is Brenda Keyes. She's a designer in England, and you can find this chart on her website, or I also believe that Kitten Stitcher on her website also carries this pattern. So, and it calls for 18 count. I mean, I think it's, I don't think that it would be very costly to get the supplies for this. It's charted in DMC, and I think that's just kind of an off-white linen. So I'm going to be working on getting everything ready. Right now, all I have is the chart. So I need to get my supplies before the end of the year. And as I said, you are welcome to join me, and we'll do a stitch along. In about a month, I'll decide on what I want to use for a hashtag on Instagram. So if you are sitting on the fence, this is me trying to push you off the fence or pull you towards my side to start this. Also, I had a big package arrive in the mail this week, and I decided to order a Lowry work stand. I decided to buy one, partly because I think part of the problem with my wrist is because I didn't have a lot of space between between my stand and my table, and so I was pulling as I pulled down on the thread, I was like twisting my wrist a lot, and I think that is kind of part of the problems what was causing that. So I have bought a work stand, and I'm trying it out to see how it works. So far it's pretty good. The one thing that my biggest problem now is I'm not stitching right underneath the light that hangs over our kitchen table, and because of that, I've got to figure out how to get better light. I mean, I have one of those book lights that clips on, and I clip it onto my frame, and it's working, but it's kind of a pain when I have to flip everything over to finish off threads. So I am still trying to. I'm kind of looking for what I could use for a light. I really don't want a floor lamp. I'm hoping to find something that would be small enough that I could hook onto something. The other problem that I have, and it's kind of minor, is right now I've been working on a project that uses my longer scroll bars. My scroll bars are about 3 feet wide, and that is almost too wide for the stand. I have the large frame adapter, and I have the extra long arm, but even so, it just barely fits on so that I can rotate back and forth and not hit the stand on the side. So I could use an extra long arm, just like 6 more inches long. I've been working with it, and it's been fine. I really like it so far. It's kind of a different experience to have your frame just sitting in the air in front of you and stitching on it. But I actually like it. I feel like I don't have to reach as far when I want to stitch the top of my frame. It's just right there, and yeah, I really like it so far. Still working out some of the kinks with it, but I think that's going to be good. And I also, I also think it has been helping with my wrists, so that's a good thing. So that's all of the updates that I have. So I had a lot of people say that they loved seeing my charts again, so I'm going to show you a couple of charts. Just to kind of show you the progress that I've had, kind of some interesting things. First of all, I'll show you again my stitch trend, just because now that we've just finished October, this graph is now more accurate for the last month in the graph. And you'll see, the number of stitches that I put in dropped off even from the month before. Even though I stitched a few more days. The reason for that is I've been working on projects that are mostly full coverage or close to it. So when I do that, I don't put in as many stitches. So there's a good excuse for that. Also, I took a week off in October, so that's another reason why. The next picture that I'm going to show you, this is my Pareto that shows what I have worked on this month. You can see that I worked on 4 projects, and that I worked on them about 4 to 6 days apiece. That's pretty good. If I had stitched one other week, then I would have had 5 projects here. This is kind of interesting. This is my annual stitch trend. So what's been going on for the year, and as you can see, if you compare that bar with the other bars in the chart, you can see that I am on track to have to have put in the second highest number of stitches in the history since I started tracking this. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to catch up to the top number, partly because of what I'm working on and because I've had a lot of days where I haven't stitched this year. So, but that's kind of interesting. And also, the last chart I want to show you, this is my annual days Pareto, just to show you what I have been working on the entire year. We'll kind of show this at the end of the year when it's all finished, but you can see that I spent so much time on Quaker Christmas 2 trying to get it finished that it's still the piece that I have worked on the most during the past year. So and you can see I really like how this graph looks, because it starts out with on the left side is the projects that I was working on at the beginning of the year, and as the year progresses, those projects stop getting worked on and I start new projects. So the projects that I've started have a lot fewer days on them, and some of them of course are going to grow so that like next year they will probably look like those projects that are on the left this year. So those are my charts, and so let's talk a little bit about what I've been working on this week. As I mentioned before, I have been working on Amid Amish Life. This is a design that was in Cross Stitch and Country Crafts in 1987. The first 3 issues of 1987. They were 3 separate designs that can be stitched as one piece, and I am stitching them as one piece. And I'm really enjoying this. This seems to be a really popular project for me, because I have had tons of comments on this pattern as I have posted on Instagram this week. I am stitching on 25 count Wedgewood Lugana, and I am stitching with 3 fabric threads, as I mentioned before, and with the called for DMC. I haven't made any color changes. I don't know where I'd start to make color changes for that matter. Anyway, I'll insert a picture of what it looked like the last time that you saw it. And yeah, I got some pretty significant stitching time in this week. I didn't, I wasn't able to stitch quite as much as I usually do on this piece, but I'm happy with my progress. So this is what it looks like now. So you can see I stitched a diagonal, well, almost 2 diagonals, I guess, before these windows weren't finished. So I stitched like from here. And so I finished 2 windows in the house. I have only 1 more window left to stitch, and you can see it's just barely getting started here. These clouds up here are all finished, and so are the mountains in the background. Basically, all that I have left to stitch here is the house. So this part of the design is going really quickly because there's not a lot to stitch, and it's pretty regular. This feels right now like there's a sea of white. But I think that's getting smaller now because you see I'm working up this side, so this is going to get smaller. And we're also seeing the visitors coming to visit right here. The line between the first and second piece is right here. This one is called hanging the quilts. This one is called visiting the neighbors. So you have this lady and I think it's a girl coming to visit, and you can see the chimney on the side of the house. This red right here is the chimney on the side of the house. So yeah, things are really taking shape. It feels like this house is starting to be finished up, at least the white part of the house. And yeah, I really like this. I'll give you a little bit closer look just to see. So yeah, I'm really happy with what I've been able to stitch this week and look forward to pulling this out again. Okay? So that's what I've been working on. Let's talk about what I'm going to stitch next week. Now, I'm finished my entire rotation, so it's time to start up again. And if you remember last time I spun to decide what I was going to work on through the rotation. I don't think I'm going to do that this time. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit maybe superstitious, but I feel like because of it took me forever to get through the rotation because of several different interruptions and problems that I had. So, and I don't know if that's caused by spinning, but the other thing that happened is that wheel, it tended to choose projects backwards. So anyway. So I'm going to start at the top of my rotation, and at the top of my rotation is my oldest whip, and my oldest whip is English Garden Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. Yeah, this has been, I've been working on this for like 2 or 3 years now. It's been hanging on forever, and I am getting to the point that I really want to finish this. I want it done. So I am glad to be working on this again. I don't feel like I was able to stitch a whole lot on this when it came up and it was only a couple weeks ago. But I don't feel like I was able to stitch a whole lot, so I'm excited to work on it again. So I'll show you what it looks like right now, and we'll see how much I can get done. So yeah. Here it is. Of course, I've stitched all this up here, and I've started to working on the hedge that is working along the bottom. And this will be exciting to do. And I think it's going to go faster than this did up here because it's smaller. It's actually 2 sections with a gate in the middle. And so I'm not quite sure how far I'll get, but I'm hoping to get close to the gate. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to work on this again, so I'm going to pull it out. So it'll be good. That's all I have to share with you today. I hope that you have a good week. As always, you can follow me on Instagram. As always, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to see my daily progress. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. You can also feel free, if you haven't, you feel free to subscribe to my videos, and also feel free to like this video if you've enjoyed the things that I've had to share with you. I hope that you have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.